Hello, YouTube fans, here again. Excuse me about my eye, it was a bit early. That's why I'm speaking. As you know, I'm doing the Dave Dodge Boom films. I've done loads of. I've had a really fun ride, whether it be Parasite, whether it be Rabbit, whether it be The Dead Zone, and the list goes on. The list goes on. Done this a few times, and this is actually a good film. This is a remake, people. That I would say did it right. And when he did this, I actually don't mind the 50s one. I actually like the 50s one. 1958, a typical B monster film. Guy comes out of a pod, got a bag on his head, or if it's a film. You get the deferment, he's got a fire's head stuck on his body, you got a die stuck on his web, the spider's about to eat him. Help me! Help me! Everybody knows it. The Fire. The Fire, the classic 1958 one, but this was a remake. And this was at that time when this got made, unlike nowadays, everything's going to be a fucking remake after remake after remake. Back then, they didn't do that many remakes. Okay. Maybe now and again, like you had Trap People, like in 1982, remake. You had The Thing on tap and just The Thing, a remake of a classic B monster film. You had maybe one or two, but it wasn't every 2 fucking minutes of the week when nobody wanted. And speaking of remakes, when I do Saturday night at the movies, I'm going to be doing a rant on remakes people don't want. People didn't ask for. Nobody wanted them. And they're going to suck. But when this got made, as I'm about to say, this got made in 1986, and Death Golden Boom was taking on a risk. It was taking a gamble because, like I said, remakes normally suck ass. They suck asses. But David Goldenboom, he knew how to do a remake. He knew how to make it your own. If you're going to make a remake, it better be fucking done. If it sucks dick, if it sucks assholes, then leave it the fuck alone. If it's not broken, leave it. And I've got to be open, I've got to be honest, even though I like the 1958 one is outdated. The technology, the science. People do B monster film, you get to see the monster nearly at the end. This one, on the other hand, he made it their own. And that's why I respect it. If the original's a tacit, and I've said this before, then this one is itself. Like you had Dina Davis, Death Goldblum. Dina Davis at that era was just doing comedy films, or she appeared in TV shows here and there. Same as David Goldblum. David Goldblum, you know what I mean? He's one of them actors. He's been out a lot of things. He was in the remake of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I remember him being the Folk in the original Death Wish. And he played in Triple H before he did this. He did The Adventures of Bullseye with Peter Weller. He appeared in Sorry, it was like a cowboy adventure film. But it was not really that big. It was either comedies or little roles here and there. This was his big break. So let's come with the bloody film. So, I mean, you get the task, like I say, Dina Davis, Steph Goldenboom, and so on. And I love the opening. The opening, the tennis sensitive thoughts, the logo, and everything about the fight, I love, even the opening. And you got Dina Davis, she's a reporter, and she meets Steph Goldblum, who's a scientist. There's a lot different in this than what's in the 50s. Like, he's not married, he hasn't got a kid, blah, 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 blah. And even the name's different. And he takes her to this house, which is his house, of course, there. And he has these pods. That's the only similarity. Even the pods look fucking better. And he can transfer one thing into another, and so on. And starts to report it, he goes mad, and so on. But she meets him again, and so on, and he tells her that if you're going to write a story, they compete it, and he'll go into the pod. And I do know there was a lot more footage of her and the boss. The boss is supposed to be an ex-boyfriend, blah, blah, blah. But I'm happy it was deleted out. I was happy it was cut and it was deleted. It didn't need it. The few deleted scenes I've seen, the scene where Death Goldblum kills a chimpanzee. There's a bit where Tina Davis is having a weird dream of a baby butterfly. Those bits, that's interesting to see, but I still like the fire is what it is. That's why it was deleted. And so, like I said, they meet the pods, and Dev Goldblum finds out that they used to be boyfriend and girlfriend. He goes mad and he goes in the pod. Makes a big mistake. But this is why I love this film. This is why I love it. Unlike the original where he comes out, he's got the bag on his head, you get the fulfillment, he's got a fire's head on his body, and the little fire's got his fucking head. It's none of that shit. It's none of it. Leave that for the 50s one. That's a typical B monster film. I like that. It comes out the pod and it's perfectly normal, but he's got a fire, goes like in the 50s one, gets in the pod, it lands on his back, on his shoulder, remember right there, and he slowly changes. And when this film come out, there's a lot of debate. A lot of people say this is what AIDS is going to be like. This was not that long when AIDS, the disease, the illness was just starting to hit our country, being the UK, it was in America and worldwide. And a lot of people say this is what AIDS is going to be. It does, it's all science fiction. It's very likely to turn into a fucking monster. But it's what they started to make a big thing saying it's similar to AIDS when this film come out. So there's a very political debate on this film as well. But like I say, he comes out the pod and he's normal. He's naked, he's normal. Before all that, he did have a chimpanzee. It had the pod out, it went wrong, and the poor chimpanzee was inside out and it died. He does, he's got another chimpanzee. I'm kind of happy the scene was deleted. The scene where he does it with the other chimpanzee, he misses it with a tat and he uses it badly to form, and he kills it with a fucking metal bar, I remember right there. I was happy that was deleted out because it really, it's interesting to see, but it definitely makes you not feel sorry for Jeff Goldblum in that scene. It really does not. And like I say, he's normal at first. He told Tina Davis what happened. She told him he was silly, but he just starts off normal. But this is where he starts changing. It's what I love about the film. Not a guy with five head stuck on his body there, baby fucking fine, help me, all that shit. He goes and has a meal with her, and that's where his personality starts changing. He's hyperactive, he's bad-tempered. You get the idea he's changing. And he is changing. And Tina Davis taxes on his changing, and he basically fucks her off. There's a bit where he meets his a bit of a slapper. But I remember his date scene. The scene where he's having an arm wrestle with someone. He snaps the poor bastard's arm. That's hanky panky with the dirt. He does get into the pod. He says that famous line, I'm afraid. And then Tina Davis comes back and says, don't be afraid, be very, very afraid. And then you find out the pod has changed here again, he fucks her off. This was the era when movies had practical effects. Practical special effects. Our fucking miss practical effects. And Dev Goldblum thought, fuck it, let's get some special effects. So he met the guy. This guy was famous for doing special effects. He did some of the special effects on Raiders of the Lost Ark. He did special effects for the Demnins itself. And does he later to direct the second five, which I probably will get to, even though it's not a David Goldblum film. It does have a love letter in it. Because there's a scene in that where someone's reading a book and on below has a photo of Jeff Goldblum, the director. So it does have a little love letter there to him, which I've got to respect. That's my hand. So as the film goes on, the same scene where he's having a shave, he cuts his face and he pulls his nails out. A lot of people remember the scene, he pulls his nails out. He says, alive, what's happening to me? Am I dying? He fights Tina Davis back to the house, and then you actually see the Jake makeup is vomited, his hair falls off. It just looks horrendous. Now, there's one bit in it, right? There's one bit I wished it had cheap, but it wasn't deleted. One bit where there's a lot more to that, where when he does kill the chimpanzee, he pulls a leg out of his shoulder and bites it off. He's changing rapid there. I wish that bit was in the film. But that's the bit I like. I like the bit where he's walking across the wall and he says that line, I don't know what's happening. What's this? And I say he's vomiting here, there, everywhere. Tina Davis tells her husband, her ex-boyfriend, what's happened. You find out she's pregnant, which Dan falls on in that one. And I love the bit where she has a nightmare of this maggot coming out of her, which, believe it or not, Jeff Goldenboom, the director, does make a disappearance. I think like he pays a surgeon who's going to help her have an abortion. If you look proper, you think, that looks like Jeff Goldenboom, the director. That's because it was. He made a small disappearance in the film. That's all that little tuts. So she just goes to go and get a proper abortion, and Jeff Goldblum, the actor, not the director, as the Fi, jumps through a window and adopts her. Her ex-boyfriend goes to save the day and he vomits fucking Fi vomit on his hand. For people what may or may not know is Fi vomit is a form of acid. So what do you think will happen if he threw up on his poor guy's hand? Saw the making of it, and that's the only bit, I've got to admit, the only bit what went through me is the Fi vomit scene. That bit makes me want to throw up. Good effect, but really gory. Vomits on the poor guy's ankle, about to finish him off by vomiting on his dosset. Gina Davis says no, he gets her, he tries to put her in the pod to fuck bodies. She pulls half his face off. Jake Puppet, Jake Practical Effects. I fucking miss practical effects like this. This is why I think CGI sucks assholes. He falls in the pod. A boyfriend who's still alive. You feel sorry for him at that point because he's badly damaged. He shoots the pod. The fire comes out. He's basically a monster at this point. He's begging to die. Gina Davis hesitates, but she does the right things. Gets a shotgun. Pulls his fucking head off, and it ends very similar to how it did in the 50s one, but there's only differences in the 58 one. It was the guy's wife. In this, Gina Davis was a thing, and I love the Fi. It's a tragedy story. It's a sad story. It's a love story. It's a science fiction. It has horror in it. It has good practical effects. And I want to keep saying that. I fucking miss that era. And David Goldblum, he made a masterpiece. He made a masterpiece. I had a lot of debate that was this similar to AIDS when the film come out. I thought it isn't. Science fiction. It's an horror film without science fiction thrown in. But it became a big hit. In 1986, The Fi became a big hit. A remake, what did it right? Wow. How I fucking loathe for remakes to do that. Well, nowadays you can't do anything. This is why when I do Saturday night at the movies, I'm gonna have a big rant because there's so many remakes being made this day what we don't want to see. And I'm thinking, why are they wasting money on shit? But this was one I think, yeah, okay. I like the 58 one. I like the 1958 The Fi. It's a classic B monster film. I'm a sucker for old monster films, but this one did it right. When you're going to do a remake, you're going to do it right. Different characters. The only bits what are similar is the pods. The story, the Fi. Go to do a pod like the 50s one. Doesn't this one you see it, in the 50s one you didn't. But I like it. It's a different fucking gnome. I think the only decent thing about the 58 one was you had Vincent Price and you had the monster at the end. And they had a bit of good acting where the actor does this and taps on the wall. In this one, they made it different. It was slower. It was agonising. Like I said at the end, yeah, it's downbeat, but it's one of them films that I felt it preserved that. And of course it foils on with The Fi 2 a couple of days later. But The Fi was a big hit. It was very successful with David Goldblum. He's shown and landed his mark when he did this film. Okay. He did films before that, like The Dead Zone, Stanners, and all that. David Goldblum, he was dated for doing body horror films, and he made this typical B monster film from the 50s. He took it, he made it into a body horror film, but with a difference. And that's what I salute it. Even today, I think this, to me, is one of them remakes, which is a good one. Shock horror. The fact you got a remake what's worth a fuck and this is a piece of dog shit. You got a director what had a motivation. He had, how can I put it? He had a motivation to do something good. He wasn't just jabbing in by the fucking name like nowadays. I don't think it's because he had ideas to do The Fi 2, but at the time he didn't. Instead he did a film called Dead Wingers. That's a fucking word right there. Dead Ringers. He did a film called Dead Ringers instead, which if you've ever seen the trailer of that, it just used the same music from The Fly. But he did the film Dead Ringers, and instead the one that did the effects for the original The Fly, also directed The Fly for The Fly 2. Even though it's not a David Boone film, I want to direct that along the road as well. So as Tina Davis says, don't be afraid. Be very, very afraid, and fuck it. Don't do films like that anymore, so fuck it. I tend to start raking because people say the 58 one's a classic. This to me is a classic. It made Dina Davis, it made Jeff Goldblum. It was a damn good film in its day, and I still think it's a good film now. That's The Fly, and as Dina Davis says, don't be afraid, be very, very, very afraid.